Alright guys, I'm gonna start doing just a series of videos of just how-tos, of just things that might be interesting to just know how to do that I think would be fun to share. So I'm just gonna start with how to brain tan a fur-on hide. So this one I'm starting with is dried. It's just rawhide, no tanning. It's been turned like if it was gonna be sold. So to start with, to get the oils to take proper, because we're gonna use a water emulsifiable oil, so egg yolks, mayonnaise, olive oil with some dish soap, all of those work. But we gotta be able to turn it without tearing it. Fox hides are thin and they are a very easy one to work. Oh, hi booger. We gotta hydrate the skin at least a little bit to start with, and we can turn it and fully hydrate it. The goal for the whole process is to get all the oils in it without wetting the fur too much. When the fur is really wet, it takes longer for everything to dry out. Because in the end, we want the hide to be dry before we smoke it. We want to pretty much just rehydrate everything so that those emulsified oils can travel through the fibers well. And then we dry out all the water while breaking the skin apart, leaving the oil behind. Then once the oils are all left behind, it's still not preserved yet. It'll be soft, and it'll stay soft until it gets wet. But if it gets wet, it reverts back to rawhide. So the last step after we get everything broken is to smoke it. And that smoke will preserve the skin to where if it gets wet again, it can just, as soon as it's dry, just move it around, it'll soften right back up to where it was. So what I just did there was I put a wet towel inside the hide, and I'll let that sit for a little bit until it gets softened. Once it's softened up and rehydrated a bit, I will turn it back inside out. So the fur is inside, skin is outside, and I will wrap it in the same wet towel for 4 or 5 hours until it is fully rehydrated. At that point, I will show what I do to oil the hides. So that's step one. All right, so the hide has been soaking with the towel in it for a little bit. Went for a walk with the little man while it hydrated, so let's see if it's enough to turn. All right, easiest way to turn is just reach on inside, grab the nose and pull it through, and hope for the best. So the face didn't hydrate well. That's your trucks, little man. Almost got it. There we go. And just go get that nose out. There you go. And don't be afraid to use your teeth. There we go. Still needs some more hydrating to go, so way to go about it. I hope this is showing up on the camera. I have it facing the other way. It is. Lay out your towel. Put the skin. Inside the tail is the pain in the butt part. I haven't figured out a good way without getting the fur of the tail really wet. Then just roll it up. You want to make sure, roll it in a way where it makes sure that the towel stays wet the full time. So now you just let it sit. I'll let it sit for probably 4 or 5 hours, and then I'll come back and egg it. this inside since it's cutting dark out there and it's hard to see what I'll be doing. But the hide's been soaking for a few hours now. Should be hydrated enough to get the job done. So I'm going to separate some eggs for their egg yolk, mix it with some warm water for the oiling solution I'll slather in. But while I separate it out, there's a couple steps I forgot to mention about with the hide prep that with foxes you don't have to do, but with other things you will. Foxes are thin enough already and are a relatively oil-free hide, so you can just go straight from a flesh dried hide to starting the tanning process. But other things like raccoon and coyote, you'll have to add in an extra step of thinning and removing the membrane from. It's an easy process. I'll have to show at a different time, but the easiest way I found to do it is with an angle grinder and a sanding disc. Oh, come on, you. There it goes. But like I said, these ones are thick enough, you don't need to. And this is a process I've used to, used to make some other items like a quiver or two that I've had for years. Like I have a raccoon for a quiver that I tanned up in this method I've had for probably about 15 years. Used it a lot. Been through several rainstorms, thunderstorms, soaking wet. And it is working just fine. Until I left it outside full of arrows and one of the dogs got a hold of it. It's missing its butt now. But the leather is still good. Alright, this is almost ready. And yeah, I'm doing it on the kitchen floor. Easy to clean up. And the wife is not home right now, so it doesn't matter anyway. It'll be cleaned up before she knows it. Luckily, I don't think she'd really care anyway. Alright. Here's the hide. Not as fully hydrated as I would like, but it's not bad. Let's absorb some moisture into it. I like to pre-hydrate before I add the oil, because it seems like the water on its own penetrates the hide better than the oil solution. Once you mix the oil in, it doesn't seem to penetrate as easy the full depth of the leather. But once there's already water there, those oils just wick right through it. But these hides are pretty thin, so it's not as big a deal. Thicker hide stuff like the beaver, raccoon, because they have some thick spots in their shoulders and hips. Beaver are just thick and a pain in the butt altogether, but doable. Alright, so lay it out. A lot of times if I'm doing it for myself, this is for somebody else and they just want it as a display piece. If I'm doing it myself, I will zip the hide open up the belly so it lays flat and I can more easily spread the oil and fold it. But this is one's going to be a display, so I'm going to leave it as a tube so I don't have to sew up the whole thing. Pain in the butt. Doing that much sewing. So just a handful at a time, rub it in. And just make sure you hit everything along it. And 3 eggs was more than enough for this. I probably could have got away with 2, but I just wanted to make sure I had enough solution. All I can say is I sure hope the camera's picking this up. I think it should. We'll see. And the best part about this method of tanning is if this oil does not penetrate full depth on the first go, you can repeat this cycle as many times as you need to get it as soft as you like. Doesn't hurt it at all. Just give it this light smoking after every time you oil it, and it'll lock in the softness where it's at. But you can repeat many times as you need. Most I've had to do so far is 3 times for an otter hide. Those things are the biggest pain in the butt of everything in Missouri I've messed with. Alright, let's get inside the tail. Like I said, the tails are the fun part. Open that up. Bunch of sawdust inside the tail. At least I'm assuming it's sawdust. Kind of what it looks like. And there's no holes in the hide, so I'm assuming it's not bugs. It doesn't really look like it. Yeah, that's sawdust. Sorry I'm talking a little on the quiet side. Just put little man to bed and I don't want to wake him up. He sleeps through a lot, but I don't want to take the risk. Really, it doesn't take that much oil to saturate the hide. But I just want to make sure there's enough. Done. I'll slather on a little bit more and I'll turn it back first side out. Once again, nice slathering. Which I am getting some of the fur wet, but because it's already been dried, that helps to lock the hair follicles into place. Even rehydrating it does not bring it back to how it was before it dehydrated. It was dried out, made into rawhide. So the hairs are locked in a little better than they would normally be. Alright. Turn this back the other way. But what I was starting to get at was, even though that's wet, it'll dry pretty well while I'm breaking it. Because it flips the hairs around and throws the water. So with any luck, most of the moisture will just be on the edges where the moisture gets too easy. Worst case, I have to zip it up the belly so that while I'm breaking it, it can more easily release the moisture. Alright, there's that. So I will slather a good heap of that in there. Fold that. I'll just smear some more in there. It doesn't hurt. Alright, there's that. Now I just folded it on itself. And I'll let it sit like this until morning. And that is all. Morning, guys. It is now morning after the hide is sat all night. So at this stage, let's just unwrap it, make sure that everything's nice and wet. See see how it looks. Make sure nothing's kicking off. And hair's not slipping. Everything's good. Seems like everything hydrated well with the oil. The oil soaked in. It's not ready to break yet, but see if you can see. Whenever I start pulling, it starts to get just a little whiteness, which once it starts to dry and we break it, more and more of those fibers will turn white. As the fibers break apart while drying, through this breaking process that's going to be happening today, it'll turn white. Right now it's a little bit of yellow, but that's just part of it. So what I'm going to do next is, you can see where the fur has a little bit of moisture in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it just sit out, fur side out, for just a couple hours. Let a lot of that residual moisture come out of the fur. And then after it sits for a little bit, I will flip it skin side out again and start breaking it. And I'll probably spend the rest of the afternoon breaking the hide, and I'll show you how that's done when it's time. All right, guys, it's been a couple hours of letting it air out. Now it is dry enough to work. Good indicator of when it's dry, whenever it's ready to work, is it'll still be like damp to the touch, like it'll feel cool. But when you stretch it, the fibers turn white. And this side shows it a little better. Like you can see it like whitening and lightening up in between where I'm pulling it. So it's ready to work. Until it gets to this point, it's almost pointless to start breaking it too early, unless you're just trying to warm it up. But for breaking the hide, I have a 1x4. You can use any 1x, you don't have to round it because it'll round it over for you. And I just have it clamped to the rail. All right, so the fur's dry enough. I'm not concerned about it needing to dry anymore. I need to turn it back skin side out. At this point, it's moist enough that it will not be an issue to turn it. Still has some of the turkey egg gunk there. And as I break it, it will dry a little bit faster than just leaving it to air out. But it's nice and windy, so it's gonna dry pretty quick. You'll wanna work it the entire time it's drying. If you stop too soon, like you stop breaking it before it's fully dry, it'll dry on its own and that area will get hard. It'll still have a fluffy outer coating, but it'll be hard. So the way I use the board is just, like, I wanna work the face, and the face still has some membrane, but as I'm working it, this stuff will pull off. Not a big deal. It's thin enough. I'm not concerned about it having the oil through it. Plus, I had about 10 hours for the oils to soak into the skin. So as I work it, those will peel off. So I just bring it over it and just... You'll want to end up working it in all directions. The board puts a little extra pressure to help the fibers separate, and it braids off a lot of like the looser material, like some of the membrane that needs to come off. Otherwise, you can do a lot of the stretching just by hand. You can hand break a hide if they're small and thin skinned. Thicker skin stuff, you have to do a lot more of this kind of breaking. But this friction also speeds up the drying process by creating a little bit of heat in the skin and forcing some moisture out. Eli, where'd you go, bud? I could hear you just a moment ago. So I did a little bit of rubbing, and you can see where it's like fluffed up and abraded. And then I will stretch it the other way. Now, I'm just gonna keep repeating this process until it is dry. And you can tell it's dry because it will be warm to the touch. All right, I'll continue videoing again in just a little bit when I make a little progress. All right, I'm back with a little progress update. This is what you're seeing me do is what I've been doing for the last little while. Hide the thickness of a fox takes, I'm expecting with how dry it is out, the drier it is, the quicker it goes. But I'm expecting this one will be done in about 4 hours of breaking. Get it nice and soft. What you're seeing me do now is what I've been doing and will be doing for the next little while. I'm gonna finish a run and I'll give you a close-up of what it's looking like. Eli, where'd you go, bud? Come on back. I'm gonna have to go chase down that boy. He likes to go and wander. Can't blame him because I'm the same way. There he is. Old man's back. Alright, so here's how it's looking so far. I just stretch it on there, on the board, rub it across, then I just pull it, stretch it, work it. The goal is just keep the fibers moving. Keep them moving, keep them separate. And if you see any fleshy or membraney bits, you just pick them off, peel them off, because those will never actually soften. So they gotta come off either by hand with a pumice stone later. Either way, all the membrane and the fluffy stuff comes off. And as it works over the board, it loosens it up pretty good. And as you can see, the belly's a little thin, so you just use a little bit more delicate of a touch on the belly area. And there's some stitched up areas from either skinning or hole blowout, something. Hole got ripped in it, no big deal. They can be sewn up. But just be a little more delicate around those because it's easy to just pull the stitching out. And the face is starting to soften up and get pliable. Ears are decent. The ears have been turned. I'm going to turn them back this way so it's easier for me to keep an eye on and work them. And they'll dry a little faster, but next update will be in a little bit whenever she's a little more dry. Because I'd say it's probably 75% dry now. It's going pretty dang quick. With this wind out and how dry the air is, it's going fast. All right, I'm giving the next update because this hide is moving along way quicker than I expected. It's been just a couple hours, but it's close to dry. I just keep working it like this until the leather part feels warm in my hands. Once I can hold it and it feels warm instead of having a cool sensation, it means it's dry and I can stop working it. It still feels cool in places, but overall it's getting pretty dang close. And a lot of membrane is wearing off with this board. And with the board, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on it. You're just like raking it over the top of it. Just a little pressure. You just want it to like fold the fibers. You get enough friction to get some heat going. The heat is what you'll want to be able to get the fibers dry. Little man wandered off again. Every time I pull the camera up, little man runs off. Just a moment, I'll go hunt him down. But here's how it's turning out so far. Nice, floppy, soft. Here's how it's looking. A lot of this membrane, I'll sand it, pumice stone it, something. It'll knock a lot of those fibers off. But for now, I'm just going through and picking off the big pieces of membrane that loosen up. You want to be careful picking it off whenever it starts getting dry, because it likes to run into the fur side a little bit and it'll pull some hairs out. But stuff like that just peel right off. But she's getting closer. All right, so here is the fox pelt on the smoker. I'm cheating. Normally I would use a fire with some just burn down to coals, throw some punky wood on it and put this over the top. But if you got access to a smoker, just use that. Throw it over the exhaust port and it'll start to funnel through the open top of the hide. It's hard to see, but there is some smoke rolling out of there. But it is just a piece of canvas with somewhere around here little binder clips holding it onto the pelt. This way it has like a, I can't think of the word for it, but a skirting that funnels the smoke up through the hide without getting excessive amounts of smoke on the fur itself. I left the tail inside for now just to make sure it gets hit with some, and here in a couple minutes I'll pull it out. But it really doesn't need that much smoke. Like half hour, 45 minutes of smoke rolling through it, that's plenty. But that is my setup. Here in a bit, I'll do a final video showing how it turned out. All right guys, so here is that hide all done, softened, smoked, and just ready to go. Turned out pretty well. Didn't take near as long as I expected. In total, it took about 5 hours from the time I started breaking it till the smoking was done. Overall, I think it turned out pretty decent. Nice and flexible. Even through the face, it's pretty pliable. Ears turned out decent. And here's how the leather turned out. Yeah, really can't fuss for how quick it went. Just a couple of eggs. And if you want, you could mix in some egg yolks and who knows what else. Anything that's oily and you can mix with water will work. All right, well, thanks for watching.